Okay, so you see that now, can somebody tell me why the method you have just done is superior to the method here? What are the pros and cons of that, what you have done, and this one? Can anybody suggest which one is better? The way you have just done in 2 steps, or doing it in a single step, which is better? Okay, easier to understand. What is easier? The 2 steps is easier to understand. It is better because it's clearer, readability. Yes, Ejiro, make the code readable. Now, that is true, but there is another reason. For instance, you are calling split, which is a method of string. You are calling it directly to the instance of the thing without giving it an identifier. What happens is that there will be other types where this way will not work. For instance, if it was an integer, I have not tried it, but I don't expect it to work. If it's an integer that you are calling a method on, and you are not likely to be able to call integer 200 dot invert. For instance, let us say there was an inverse method in 200 dot inverse. Whereas if you had just said my integer is equal to 200, my integer invert, that would work. So this second method is more versatile. It's easier to understand, even though it takes 2 lines. So I advise you to use things that are more readable and easier to understand. Good. So that's good. So you can do that for lines 4, 5, 6, and so on. You can do that. And then you can see plot, show, and see these other things. And by the time we do another one now, where we created a set directly, science grades. And we are looking at great scientists, Lavoisier, Newton, Faraday, David, Rayleigh, Maxwell, Dalton, and so on. And then we created another set of Nobel laureates. I hope you know that when we use curly braces, we are creating sets directly, Nobel laureates. And these 2 sets have some intersection, and then we can now use the second Venn diagram to create the intersection and then show. That's another thing. And so on. These are simple things. Now, I think this is exciting to do. I think it's interesting. Now, we saw just here now that the string that is a fundamental scalar type even has methods. It has methods. How can you know more about the methods like this? How can you know more? Because how many of it can I tell you? Okay, let me go back to the slides again and give you a little bit of hint as to how you can, as to what you can do to, let me just stop this program that is running, stop debugging. You can see the advantage of, let's see slideshow from the current slide. Okay, Venn was one of the earliest codes you were given. It's a very simple program. It was procedural. I hope you are beginning to see. Those of you who have not been obeying instruction, run this program, take them through the debug, change them, do things that I didn't do other things that are of interest, and use them to do other things that you can even use to help your younger brother or sister that is still in high school and solve his problems in set theory using your programming. I mean, that's one thing. See, it was a simple program, and it was procedural. But now, because you have some knowledge of object-oriented programming language, you are able to see that that split there is not just anything. It is a method in the class of strings. Let us investigate this whole code with the new eyes of object-oriented programming, which we have just done. Now, we can see fundamental types more than meets the eye. We can see in the practice example here that we can instantiate a fundamental type such as a string in a way similar to our own created classes. Create a string and call any of the several methods provided by the string type. In this case, we are looking at the split method. Now, how do we know other methods that are in the string type? We have not been taught that. Don't trust any other source. Go to the source, go to Python organization, go through this link, and now check all the methods that are available Check all the methods that are available for the string, and you may be able to do so many things that you didn't even know about right now, because you are now seeing that string objects you can run several methods on them, and you'll be surprised what you can do with them, and you will not know until you try. In our example, the string split method creates an object of the list type, in which case it's a list of strings. In this case, it's a list of strings. After assigning this list to a properly named identifier, we can use the methods of the list class for the object created. In this example, we do an in-place sorting. But let us just go on here. I want to go back to the code that I just ran. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add 2 new lines. I'm going to add lines 7 and 8. What I'm going to do is that I will create a string and split the string. And I will assign the value of the string to a list called KK. So you expect KK to have why are you doing this? So it will have Y, it will have R, it will have you, it will have doing, and you have this, and they will be in a list of strings after the split has been activated. And then we are now going to sort that list. And as we sort that list, I have questions for you. And you are now beginning to see the way I'm going to test you in an exam. Okay, so let us go back again and run the code. And to run the code, I will just say start debugging again. I started debugging from line 4. So that is where my first breakpoint is. And let us see what happens when I run line 7. When I run line 7, I don't know whether you are able to see on the left, on the top left box there, you can see that KK is now a list. And it contains Y, it contains R, it contains U, it contains doing, and it contains this. Now, before I execute line 8, I want you to tell me what you think will happen when I execute line 8. Go to this chat room and tell me what you think will happen when I execute line 8. What do you think will happen? It will sort it alphabetically. It will be sorted alphabetically. Okay, I think you wanted to write alphabetically, to arrange it alphabetically. Okay, let me execute it and let's see. I want to execute this line. Okay, can you see now? Can you see KK has now been sorted doing this YU? It's now alphabetical. So it has been sorted. So the thing was split and it was now sorted. Okay, I want to stop this program, stop debugging, and I want to do several things. Here, I'm going to type KK is equal to Y U line this. Then I will type KK1 is KK split. Now, I'm not going to type KK2 is equal to KK1 sort. So, okay, so I want you to take a look at lines 7, 8, and 9. Line 7, 8, and 9. In line 7, 8, and 9, I want you to go to the chat room and tell me what will happen in line 7, 8, and 9 in your own words. Tell me what will happen. Again, this is the kind of questions I can ask you in an exam on the code that is already running. Tell me what will happen. What do you think will happen? Let us see whether God's time, you are wrong. Because KK, for instance, is a string, but KK1 is a list. So they cannot be referencing the same value. So God's time, you are wrong, because KK and KK1 cannot represent the same value because the values are completely different. KK is a string, KK1 is a list of strings. Tobechuku, surprise, surprise, we are not going to get the same result. In fact, that is why I'm showing you this example. Well, it will sort alphabetically, but there will be something funny will happen. You only made it more line of code. Well, you will see, so line 7 instantiates a variable, line 8 splits a variable and puts in a list, and line 9 sort it out alphabetically. That is Ejiro. That's what it's supposed to do, but there is something wrong. KK1 splits KK, KK2 arranges KK1 alphabetically. Actually, this is how I wrote the program, and I found out I was in error. So you can see why it's good to test things out. I myself was in error, and it is my mistake in preparing for this class that I'm now sharing with you. This is true. I forgot. KK1 will return a list, and KK2 will sort it alphabetically. Nicholas, that's what I thought, but that's not what happened. KK1 will split and so on. Okay. So nobody really has discovered the wrong thing here. So I will show you. We are going to run this. So don't believe anybody. Don't take my word for it. Believe whatever the computer runs. If I say something and the computer says differently, believe the computer, because that is the final arbiter. Does it run your code? What results does it give? So even your teacher's opinion is somebody say KK2 is erratic. I don't know what. Freeman, can you explain further? Remove KK2, sir. Why? Why do you want us to remove KK2? Why? Ademola, you are right, but I'm looking. A sort doesn't sort each number of the list alphabetically. It will sort it alphabetically. KK2 cannot sort KK1 because it's not a string. No, that's not the reason. That's why I actually introduced. This is an interesting example, and there's a reason why I want you to see it. Okay, before I tell you what is wrong, let us first of all run the code. Let's first of all run the code and see what happens. And then I will now explain what happens, why it is happening, and what the implications are for you. So let us start debugging again. We're going to debug to that point again. So we are now in line 4, line 5, line 6. Please be looking at the top left corner. So you see now, KK is a string holding, why are you doing this? That's all that there is to it. You can see now, it is KK1 that is now a list. KK is a string, KK1 is a list. So they are not the same. Because in KK, you just have a single string. In KK1, you have a list of strings. That is the difference between the two. KK1 is a list of strings. So, so let us now run KK2 and see what happens. When we run KK2, when we run line 9, can you take a look at what is happening? Can you see what values KK, KK1, KK2 are holding? And see whether you can tell me the reason why this is happening. I want you to go to the chat room and see whether you can find an explanation for why what you are. First of all, tell me what you are seeing. Well, it is not what I expected to see when I ran the code, but why is it happening? It is the understanding. So when I give you a code, I am not just telling you to type something and type for typing's sake. I want you to use it to learn, to understand what's going on. So can you see the values KK, KK1 and KK2 are holding? Can you tell me, if you know, why those values are being held? Wrong syntax for sorting. No, the syntax is okay. The sort method doesn't return anything, only modifies the sort. Ali Olarinde, perfect. Ali Olarinde understands what's going on here. You see, this sort method of the list class is an in-place sorting. It's an in-place sorting method. It's an in-place sorter. It's not a sorter. It's not an out of place sorter. If it's an out of place sorter, you see, the in place sorter has advantages and disadvantages. If I was a person writing Python, I would prefer an out of place sorter. And I don't know the reason why they prefer the in place sorter, because the in place sorter modifies the list itself. An out of place sorter will keep the list the way it is and returns a new list that is sorted. So you will have two lists, one unsorted and one sorted. Here, what happens is that this particular method returns nothing. That is why KK2 does not store anything. There is nothing being returned in the sort. And you will find this by going to study how it works in the reference I gave you. You Google, you go to the Python organization and check that. You will find out that the sort function, the sort method, does not return another list. It only does what is called in-place sorting. It doesn't return anything. So that's why KK2 is pointing to nothing. So you need to read about the functions and methods you are using and get more understanding of it so that you can use it more powerfully, not just use them superficially. So that's what I was trying to show you. It is possible for you to write that here. That is why you could just have written this program. This will work. This will work. So because KK1 sort will sort the list in KK1 and will put it in place. Now I have one more question for you. So what I will do, let me stop the debugging. And I want to modify this code a little bit. Now, do you expect this to work? Go to the chat room and answer me whether you think this will work. Out of place sorting, God's time, is that the sorting does not change the original list. Okay, some people say it will work, some others say it won't work. Do you know what I think? No, I won't tell you what I think. Let us go run it and see. Let us go and run it. Okay, let's run again. Start debugging. Again, we are in line 4. Okay, so let us now run the line 8 and see. So let us just try and see what happens here. Let us see whether we can watch and find whether KK1 is so at the end of it, it did not work. It did not work. Whereas if you think we can use sort method or not? Ali Olarinde. Okay, so let us try. Ali is suggesting something that we should use KK1 or none. How do you do that? Ali, can you type the code that I should put there so that we can check it? Ali, type the code and I will put it for you. Ali, I'm waiting for you. How do you use sort on none? Well, how would you type the code? Okay, you can sort. Okay, so you can see that. Okay, you can see that even a code as simple as this can be a class, can be a place to learn a lot of things. See what we have done with it. This is what I have been asking you to play around with the code since the beginning of the term. You have not been doing your work. So you will see how much you will learn. You will go again, you will see some things that should work, which don't work, and then you will learn how to use them. You will go back now to the Python organization. You will learn a lot about split, and you will learn about other methods that are in the string class, so that even your basic classes have things that you have not even, you are not aware of, that can actually be used to empower you to program better. So those are the kinds of things that you can do. So you can see, if you look back, you will see that this is one of the early codes that we used in the class, and see how much learning can be done through it. This is not trivial. There are so many things you can learn. You can read about these things, you can understand much more, and you can be able to write better codes. And you can see there are some things that look as if they will work, even just those that they don't work. And here, there is no syntax error. So this thing with your program doesn't even catch anything. And you might be under the impression you have sorted this, and you have not sorted anything, because it does not, it's nothing is happening here. But let me do one more thing and see whether it will work. Also did not work. Didn't change. The value of KK did not change to a sorted list. So the way we did it before was the way that was the way to go. We did several things. So let me ask the class now. So with the example we have just done now, what are you going to do now with the examples that I've been giving you? What will you do? I want you to tell me what you will do. Looking at how much information, how much we can not learning, we can get through this simple thing. I want you to tell me what you will do. Have you learned anything? You will go back again, God's time. You will go back again to some of the simple programs that we ran before. And no, you are going to learn more. You are going to read, you are going to go into the Python library and read more about what methods are available, even to your fundamental classes, and then see whether you can now use them. Because don't you think it may be a good idea to go back to those seemingly simple codes and now use the eye of object-oriented program you have learned here to take a look at them anew? And nobody is saying that. Nobody seems to get that idea. Is there anybody who is thinking that that's something they can do? Okay. And even the simple codes, the simple old codes, the ones we started earlier, you may be able to see better ways of working with them. Okay, our time is almost spent. So let me see. I have only 8 minutes left. So let me see whether I can get to the end of my slides. Here, slideshow from current slide. Okay, so here in our example, the string split method creates an object of the list type, which in which case is a list of string. After assigning this to a properly named identifier, we can use the methods of the list class for the object created. In this example, we do an in-place sorting. The sort of list is an in-place sort. Quiz. What happens if I assign the result of a sorted list to an identifier? That is, we have already done that. We have already answered that. Give it a try. The object holds none. Why is it so? Instead of asking you about the instantiation of the set class, you may be told to make a set of strings out of the, instead of asking you about the instantiation of a set class, you may be told to make a set of strings out of the strings settings. For instance, what I'm saying is that in an exam, I can ask you about, I can tell you to make a set out of the strings, out of string settings. I can say, why are you doing this? I can say, make a set of strings out of it. So it will be for you to know that you can call split, and then you can use the set constructor on the resulting string, and you can get a set out of it. So those are the kinds of things you could be asked in an exam. They are simple questions, but they will show whether you are programming or not. If you are not programming and you have just been reading, you cannot get the correct answers to those questions. Assignment again. I want to be, what I'm doing here, your assignments are due today. I hope you have submitted. I will get the submissions from the office. Submit through your class reps. A class rep, please submit to admin. The site admin will be waiting for you, and it will send all the things you have submitted to me. So the examples that are important, what you are going to bring to your final exam are as follows. You expand this to the first assignment that I want you ring now, please notice, is your own expansion of the student class. Without creating any special student, without creating an engineering, just the student class, make it more realistic. I just used the minimum. I just used the 3 data items, that is matric, name, and the subject, what the students scored in 6 subjects. You go to town and create your own student the way you like. And then that is your own code, and it is running, you bring it to the exam. I'm going to ask questions on your code, and that's what you are going to be judged on. If you bring somebody else's code, you will not be able to answer the questions that we ask. Inheritance, you do 2 or more levels. For instance, you can have an engineering student. You can have an engineering student that is also a sports person. So you can get to 2 levels. So you do beyond the inheritance that I did in the example I gave you. Then you do a timer class, which is one of the things you are submitting today. And you do procedural code of all the things you have done. You may be asked to add a few lines of code in an exam. Your code must execute. If your code don't execute, even in the exam, you are going to be penalized. Your codes must execute. So make sure the code you bring to the exam will already executing. So adding 2 or more lines of code, you should be able to make it execute in a very short time. That's part of what you have been examined on. If you copy, you are getting double punishment. You will be punished because you will get poor grades for the assignment. You will be punished because you will fail the exam. I don't want either of these 2 to happen to you. And that's why I'm telling you up front. So don't let these things happen to you. So do your work correctly. So we have come to the end of today's class. We are going to do more reviews, and I'm hoping that by the time you come to the next class, you will ask me much deeper questions based on your practice. Not just asking me questions because you want to grab more, but because you have done something, you have tested it, and you just want my input as to why the programming language is working, behaving the way it is behaving. Those are the kinds of things that make this course very interesting. In fact, this can be one of your best courses, not just in your getting good grades, but in your knowing and your investing more into your future, and your future success might actually begin with this course. That is, even when we finish the exam, you are not going to stop learning. You are going to take all the things you have done and learn more and be better prepared for the future as a result of this course. So those are the kinds of things I'm expecting to happen to you. I'm going to send this today's slides to the admin to post for you. So you will get the slides if that's what you want. Yeah, what is the deadline for this assignment? No, there are assignments that have deadline today. I'm just telling you that the things you bring to the exam, there are 2 assignments that are due today. So submit them to your class reps. And I'm just reminding you what you bring to the exam when we are doing our final exam. Well, class time now is 2:58. I think we have given a good account of the 2 hours. Thank you for your attention. I hope this will ginger everybody to go and take this work seriously and do. Please, Adeniji, don't raise hands in this class. Send a chat. I'm not going to ask you to talk. Just send a chat. I will read your chat. Adeniji Kende, David, stop raising hands and send a chat. That is how we work in this class. I will wait for the time so that I will see whether you are going to send in a chat. No, if there's no new assignment, it's the same assignment, it's the assignment that's due today. I'm only telling you what is number 1, 2, 3, 4 that you are supposed to bring to the final exam. Okay, I'm still waiting for Adeniji that is raising hands to see whether he has something to say. Well, I'll wait for him for 1 more minute, after which the admin will close the chat, will close the class. Adeniji is not coming up. He prefers to raise his hand. Yes, please, sir. For the new entry student, is it possible to give us? everything, that all of them, and you still didn't see what you are supposed to do, go through it and stop asking me to do things that I've already done. Okay, so goodbye.